I'm Rachel Wallace. I am a Charles County native and I am currently directing 12th night for the Port Tobacco Players. I have been with the Port Tobacco Players for over a decade. I'm not exactly sure how long. I started here as a stage manager and switched to directing after I went to college for directing and stage management. I am a Charles County native and currently I work at the College of Southern Maryland.
So you've brought your love of theater to downtown Plato.
Yes.
What shows have you directed here before?
So at PTP specifically, I have directed Much Ado About Nothing. I assistant directed. I also did The Tempest. I did The Importance of Being Earnest. And currently I am doing 12th night.
Have you directed in any other venues besides here?
Yes, I've done stuff at Hard Bargain over in Accokeek. I did Midsummer Night's Dream and Fuddy Mears about 12 years ago.
And they were great. I can attest to that. What brought you to directing? What makes you passionate about the shows that you pick that makes you say, this is the one I want to direct?
So what brought me to directing was in high school. I was very fortunate to have the last year with Jim Carpenter. He was in the school system for a long time. And when he met me his first day, he said, what do you want to do here? I said, well, I'm interested in stage managing and directing. And he said, great, you're doing both by the end of the year. And I did. So that's kind of, I got bit, and that's what really got me into it. For Shakespeare in particular, I had a really good mentor in Jim Quiley. He was another teacher in the area. And he presented it in a way that it had never been presented to me before. You know, the way that they teach it in schools, and there's nothing wrong with how they teach it in schools, but you're expected to read it. And Shakespeare was never meant to be read, it was meant to be heard and seen. And so I think a lot of people walk into Shakespeare already intimidated, where Jim just did a really good job of presenting it in a way that there's no pretentiousness behind Shakespeare. There never is. You know, there's really none there at all. I mean, back in Shakespeare's time, the cast didn't have the script until the day of the performance, which is why in a lot of the shows you have in the prologue of Romeo and Juliet, they say in fair Verona. So all your actors backstage are like, okay, cool, we're in Verona, now we know where we are. So, Shakespeare's not pretentious, and he's the one who made me see that and made me find a love for it.
I see that because I, being one of those people who did not have a background learning Shakespeare, and I came in and worked with you on 2 shows for Shakespeare with Jim on one and then The Tempest with you. I learned that Shakespeare is fun and fabulous, and not just tragic, but can be tragedy and comedy and anything else.
Yep.
I think that's an important part that we need to stress to people, is that don't be afraid of Shakespeare.
Absolutely, yeah. And my goal anytime I do anything Shakespeare is I want someone to walk out of here going, wow, I understood that more than I thought. Or I found something new in it that I didn't see before. You know, one of the things I do when I direct Shakespeare is I cut the scripts down, and some purists say you shouldn't, but, these shows used to be 4 hours long because it was the only thing they did. This was their entertainment. Where now, you can get these shows down to, 90 minutes, 2 hours easily and still get all the information in there. And then you streamline the story, so that people who maybe didn't understand it, who got lost in the language, now can see the story in a more condensed way that lets them follow through to the end.
So how do you bring younger viewers, young theater goers into it, which it's a little bit more difficult, I think, when you look at it with the high school kids who come, theater high school kids. How do you get them hooked in that extra way, not just as perhaps directors, but also as actors in the show?
Yeah, so something that we've done before in the past is we'll do school performances, which really help. A lot of the schools are teaching Shakespeare, that we'll reach out to the teachers of the Board of Ed and tell them that, hey, we're putting on this production if this is the one that you want to teach this year. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes the teachers will offer extra credit, which helps too to get them in the seats and really, it does take a type of person to like Shakespeare, right?
Yes.
But you have to have that exposure to begin with. And I think just getting young people into this theater to see something is that exposure that they need.
Absolutely. And the teachers that you have mentioned in the past, knowing both of them, excellent teachers.
Yes, yes, they were.
Let's talk about Twelfth Night.
Okay.
That's one I don't know that well,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand you have a very modern take on it, or a new or interesting one that many people have not seen yet.
Twelfth Night is about a pair of twins who end up in a shipwreck, who the female twin goes kind of undercover, dresses as a man to blend in while she's in this land that she doesn't know about, and then comedy ensues because Shakespeare. But what I decided to do was, to, instead of a shipwreck, change it to a plane wreck.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I said, 1940 is cool, let's put it in 1940. So we're setting this one just post World War II.
Oh, now that's definitely fun, and something people might relate to versus someplace back in a time that we're not used to.
Yeah, I don't think, at least not to my knowledge, PTP has put Shakespeare this modern. I think we've gone up to like colonial times for Shakespeare.
Right.
So this is definitely the most modern that we've put one on this stage that I'm aware of, at least since I've been doing things
So that's
here.
pretty fun. So you're doing costuming of the 40s.
Yep.
Which is always fun and but challenging.
Yes.
Finding the right costumes and the hair, but it's also kind of interesting that this is a woman pretending to be a man
Mm-hmm.
to fit into a world, which brings us pretty much into modern times when women are still fighting for their place.
Absolutely.
And so you're bringing that right in there too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we chose France because if you look at a map of France and when different parts of it, kind of broke out of World War II, it's all over the place. So it would make sense if she crashed there, she wasn't sure what area she's in and if it's safe for her to be able to be out in the open.
Especially right after the war.
Yeah.
I heard something about some music in this.
Yes,
as
so we've
well.
taken some Andrews Sisters music and we are using that. We cast 3 wonderful, wonderful women as the 3 sisters, and they're providing the music for the show.
And that's definitely different. I don't think I've ever heard anything besides a little bit of old-fashioned musicians
Yep.
in Shakespeare. So that should be a lot of fun for the audience.
Yes, it is.
So what ways do you think is the best way for people to get butts in the seats
Mm-hmm.
for this show and future shows that are not the names that will hit you over the head? Is there a way that the Charles County Arts Alliance, what they can do to help, or any of the other organizations or the town,
Mm-hmm.
to help more people come in and see these amazing shows that people don't really know?
Yeah, I think the thing about theater is about experiencing other experiences that other people have, right? Whether it's fictional or non-fictional, depending on the show. And I think being open to accepting those other experiences is something that helps when you come to the theater. And so that would get you in here to see some of those things you've maybe never heard of. I mean, think of your favorite TV show. You didn't know anything about it until you started it. And we're not asking you for 9 seasons, we're asking you for 2 hours.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I know Port Tobacco Players is always looking for partnerships with different businesses, different organizations in the community, any sort of special event that you may be interested in. Like I said, we sometimes do school shows. We've had nursing homes come in and do shows. We've had veterans agencies come in. I know for 12th Night in particular, we're partnering with PFLAG, and we're going to do a talk back with them. They reached out to us, so we're going to do a talk back before a show, and then they're going to come and see the show afterwards.
Oh, that's exciting.
All Port Tobacco Players and all the different directors are always interested in doing that sort of thing for the community.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you want us to know about you, about the cast, about the set, about the costumes, anything like that?
Not that I can think of.
Well, thank you very much. We wish you lots of broken legs for
Thank
the
you.
show, and we look forward to seeing it.
Great, thank you so
Rachel.
much.
Hi, so I have been doing theater at Port Tobacco Players for about 12 years. I've been an actor, costume designer. This is my first time producing. I'm very excited to be a part of this production. When Rachel first asked me, it was very interesting. We're setting it in post-World War II, and yeah, I just thought it would be a really fun new experience.
Hi, I grew up in the theater in California. My grandmother was a studio teacher at the Pantages, so many a behind the scene moment for me, and then I started acting in high school, and that brings me here to Port Tobacco Players in Maryland, where I'm happy to make my stage return. It's been wonderful. I've been a part of Port Tobacco now for a little over a year, and I'm just finding my legs again on stage.
So this is my second production with the Port Tobacco Players. I worked with Rachel, the director, prior with The Importance of Being Earnest. I played Cecily, and I had such a good time, I decided I had to come back and do more, and I'm very happy